Imagine if we were to inform you that the moon was formerly home to inhabitants, and that even in the present time, extraterrestrial life forms continue to traverse its surface. For years, NASA and established scientific viewpoints have refuted these assertions. However, there exist ample indicators and individuals who have testified to witnessing space stations, unusual illuminations, and enigmatic occurrences on the moon. Today, we are revealing the most intriguing of these accounts. Rest assured, this journey to the moon is poised to reshape your perception of it in a profound way. For those excited about these captivating discoveries, remember to subscribe to Cosmos Prodigy and activate the notification bell for regular updates on these enthralling subjects. Express your enthusiasm through a thumbs up, signaling that we have succeeded in maintaining your engagement with the compelling content of our videos. The moon possesses a distinctive attribute that renders it relatively simple for extraterrestrial and intelligent life forms to conceal themselves from our observation. This phenomenon arises from its synchronous rotation, where one side of the moon is perpetually facing the Earth, while the other remains unseen. This synchronization occurs due to the moon's rotation around its own axis, taking approximately the same duration as its orbit around the Earth. The first individual to meticulously observe the far side of the moon was Michael Collins, who was the third member of the iconic Apollo 11 crew. In 1969, Collins embarked on a lunar journey with his more renowned companions, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. As Armstrong and Aldrin descended to the lunar surface, Collins remained in the command module, circling the moon several times. Although Collins later claimed to have witnessed nothing out of the ordinary on the far side of the moon, this assertion does not align with the actuality. During that period, Otto Bender served as a NASA ground control employee in Houston. While Armstrong and Aldrin were en route to the moon, Bender monitored the events and tuned into the radio transmissions. After retiring from NASA, Bender asserted that the official communications during the moon landing had been censored. The transmissions accessible to the public were only a fraction of what Armstrong and NASA officials had actually exchanged that day. It seems that the most crucial transmissions were likely omitted for valid reasons. According to Bender's account, Armstrong purportedly spotted UFOs following the lunar landing. Allegedly, Armstrong was awestruck by his observations and reportedly exclaimed, "These babies are huge, sir. Enormous. Oh my God, you wouldn't believe it. I'm telling you." There are other spacecraft out there lined up on the far side of the moon at crater edge watching us. Despite Bender being dismissed as unreliable, another NASA employee present at the time corroborated his statements. Maury Chatlin, employed by a NASA subcontractor handling logistical tasks, claimed that he had overheard the radio transmissions and even viewed film recordings. In his 1978 book, Chatlin revealed that he had seen footage of two spacecraft hovering near Neil Armstrong as he walked on the lunar surface. Moreover, Chatlin asserted that within NASA, it was common knowledge that Apollo and Gemini flights were often accompanied by spacecraft of extraterrestrial origin, including flying saucers or UFOs, both from a distance and at times quite closely. After the moon mission, Aldrin and Armstrong were purportedly bound by silence, which they adhered to for much of their lives. Aldrin occasionally made statements over the course of his career, which were ambiguous and construed by UFO enthusiasts as veiled affirmations of Bender and Chatlin's claims. We don't need to venture far into the past to encounter NASA personnel expressing concerns about the organization. Just a few years back, American scientist and NASA critic Stephen Greer initiated Project Disclosure. Greer's objective is to establish a platform for former NASA employees who wish to share their previously undisclosed insights. Subsequently, 2 disclosure conferences have been conducted, during which numerous individuals affiliated with the space agency have come forward to discuss their experiences, both publicly and anonymously. Among them was a courageous woman who chose to speak out publicly. She had once served as a technician for a NASA subcontractor responsible for retouching moon photos that exhibited unusual anomalies. Supposedly, She had been instructed that these anomalies were innocuous and merely needed to be edited out of the images to prevent feeding material to UFO enthusiasts. However, the anomalies she observed in the pictures were not misconstrued occurrences or peculiar-looking rocks. Allegedly, she routinely edited out structures from the images that bore resemblance to buildings or machinery, alongside lights or precisely geometric formations. During the course of her duties, she asserts that she discerned the presence of 3 extraterrestrial spacecraft on the Moon at all times during the Apollo missions. Among NASA employees, this notion appears to be an unspoken understanding even today, yet no one addresses it publicly. The lunar surface is adorned with perplexing occurrences. Some of these have been attributed to the phenomenon known as pareidolia, where objects appear to be recognizable shapes, like enormous rays, towers, pyramids, or houses, but are essentially natural stone formations that manipulate light and shadows, creating optical illusions. While this explains certain phenomena on the Moon, it does not account for all of them. This pyramid-shaped structure has often been dismissed as pareidolia in the past, a simple case of misperception involving the mountain's peak or pyramid. While this interpretation could be plausible, a closer zoom reveals a remarkably precise geometric arrangement of light points on the dark side of the image. It's difficult to believe that nature could naturally produce something of this nature. But what are your thoughts? We'd love to hear your opinion about this pyramid in the comments below. Is it possible that we are all being deceived? There's certainly a slew of evidence supporting claims similar to those made by the former Retouch employee. This intricate and geometric structure, which is clearly distinct from the surrounding surface, can only be observed in some original photos from the 1960s. These specific images have been omitted from subsequent official releases and Google's database. Originally situated near the Zeeman crater, it is likely that the structure remains in the same location today. Additionally perplexing is the lack of availability of a series of high-resolution images taken during the Galileo probe's flyby in 1991 to 1992. With only 8 publicly accessible images from this series, questions arise regarding the content of the remaining pictures. In 1994, the Clementine project embarked on a photographic reconnaissance mission to map every corner of the Moon for comprehensive geological analysis from Earth. However, some believe that the project had a secondary purpose, scanning known extraterrestrial bases, recording lunar environmental changes, and detecting new anomalies. Among the 2.5 million images amassed by the Clementine mission, a staggering 1 million images appear to have been inexplicably removed from the public domain. So how do we decipher all of this information? Does it fit into any sort of context? Well, indeed, there seems to be some context, as per lunar enthusiasts and critics of NASA. Allegedly, there exists a multitude of hints and evidence supporting the idea of various space bases on the far side of the Moon. Who inhabits these bases and whether these beings are indigenous to the Moon remains unknown. However, there is substantial evidence suggesting that the Moon was once inhabited, or at least utilized for mining purposes. A mining engineer and Moon enthusiast closely analyzed this image and immediately recognized resemblances between the formation and machinery commonly employed in mining operations. This might have prompted NASA personnel to speculate about potential extraterrestrial mining activities on the Moon. While the Moon was long thought to be barren and geologically uninteresting, recent discoveries have debunked this notion. It's now established that hidden reservoirs of water exist on the Moon, along with a rather unique mineral. The Chinese Chang'e 5 mission recently delved into this mineral and unearthed fascinating findings. In addition to water enclosed in glass beads, Chinese scientists unearthed traces of helium-3. While it might not sound captivating initially, those familiar with nuclear power understand that helium-3 holds promise as a valuable material for nuclear fusion. This form of energy could potentially supply the entire Earth with clean power, but the obstacle lies in the scarcity of the required raw material on our planet. Helium-3 boasts optimal fusion properties and is considerably more abundant on the Moon, raising the possibility that humans might one day engage in lunar mining to access this resource. Imagine the future lunar visitors stumbling upon ancient abandoned mining shafts and enigmatic machinery, and possibly being compelled to remain tight-lipped about their discoveries. Thank you for watching our video until the end. If you enjoyed the content, don't hesitate to give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Now it's your turn to share your thoughts. What are your impressions about the intriguing properties found at the moon's poles? And what comes to mind as you contemplate the prospect of mining lunar resources?